What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by Attollo Studios. Today's video is the first of 3 videos on how to make a beat in FL Studio for beginners. By the end of these 3 videos, you're going to have all the basic tools that you need to start making a whole variety of beats, as well as a good template to work from that you can save and tweak later on. To start off, let's get FL Studio opened up. Before we do anything else, let's save our new project. Click File, Save As, and we're going to call this My First Beat. Now I have my FL Studio set so that it opens with a couple of plugins. I'm going to close everything so that it's bare bones, assuming that you yourself are using FL Studio freshly installed or just bare bones. Alright, now that we have our project opened up and we've saved it, the first thing that we're going to start with is the drums. Everybody's creative process is different, and you may start with a piano or a melody or whatever, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're starting with drums. FL Studio will always open up with some basic stock sounds loaded, and I don't really like them, so we're going to start off by putting our own drum sounds into the channel rack. In order to add your own sounds, you're going to go over to your browser. You're going to find wherever it is that you have your sounds stored, and then you just need to click, and let's find some drums here. I'll just use this kick here. And once you've picked out your kick drum, you just click on it, drag it over to your channel rack, and put it on any one of the channels that you see there. So we have a kick. Now let's get a snare drum. Click and drag. Then we're going to want a hi-hat. Click and drag. And let's get a crash cymbal. Alright, now we have our virtual drum set, if you will, and it's time to start programming our drum pattern. We'll start off with the hi-hat. When you look at the channel rack, you see all these little buttons and rectangles all the way across here. When you click on one, and it becomes highlighted, you're telling FL Studio to play the sound that you've assigned to that channel. So if we just click on those 4 and hit play, we're going to hear a hi-hat get played on the first beat of each measure. We'll assume it's a measure. One easy way to fill up your hi-hats, though, rather than having to click all the way through, is to right-click on the hi-hat and say fill each 2 steps, 4 steps, or 8 steps. By doing that, it automatically fills in all of the parts in the channel rack that are currently turned on. You see these grayed out parts here. If you want to access them, you need to manually click over there. To unlock that, you can right click, fill each 2 steps again. And now we just have a repeating hi-hat. Let's play that. Alright, next is going to be our kick and our snare drum. And we're just going to do something very, very basic as we build our beat. And here we're just alternating between our kick and our snare. It's going to sound like this. Now if at any point you don't really like the sounds that you have, but you like how you have your notes placed, you can always go back into your browser, pick out something like maybe we want a new snare. Okay, now we want our drum beat to be a little bit more interesting, but still basic since we're building our beat. So I'm just going to add a second kick drum on every other repeating part. Later on, after we've written our beat, we'll mix it. But right now, this hi-hat is very loud. So you can, right on your channel rack, to the left of where your hi-hat is, you'll see these two knobs. When you place your cursor over them, you'll see in the top left it changes. You'll see channel panning and channel volume. You just want to turn down channel volume in this instance to bring our hi-hat down a bit. Great. Now that we have a drum pattern that we're going to at least start with, we like it well enough, you want to make sure that you name your pattern. Right here we see pattern 1. Click the little drop down arrow. Go to rename, and we're going to type in drums. All right. Now we want to take this entire programmed piece that we've made and we want to put it in our playlist. So open your playlist, and if you click, it'll drop in the drums. If you were to click there and nothing happened, or it put in a different part, on the top here, you click on the drums, and all your different pattern clips will show up there. Alright, now that our drums are done and they're put into our playlist, the first thing we're going to do is click the save button. File, save. Make it a habit to always save your beats regularly. More times than I care to count, I've lost a lot of work because I forgot to push save, and something crashed, something went wrong, there was a glitch in the matrix, and well, it sucks. Always click save. So next we're going to write a bass part. The drums and the bass in most songs correlate very well, and they really help to form the backbone of a beat. Now for our bass, we're going to insert a plugin rather than just drag and drop some sounds into our channel rack. To do that, we're going to right click on any one of the samplers that are in this channel rack here. I like to pick either the top or the bottom to keep things separate. So we'll start with our crash, and we'll right click, and we're going to click insert, and we will use GMS. It's a Groove Machine synthesizer. I believe it comes free with FL Studio. Now that that's open, we are going to go through the sounds until we find the basses. So in our sound bank, we already have basses selected. And so now we need to find one that we like. And because there's no keyboard in this particular plugin, we're going to just pick any bass, and then we're going to program some notes. Then later we'll worry about the sound. We're going to select bass 1 MC, close the preset, and to program our bass, we're going to use what's called the piano roll. Before we do that, however, we need to make a new pattern. So up here, click plus, and we're going to name this bass. Now to access the piano roll, you're going to right click on GMS here in your channel rack, click piano roll, and it'll open up this new screen here. You can click anywhere on this little virtual piano to hear what your bass sounds like. And in order to make notes in the piano roll, you just have to click, drag and move around. And if you click on the side, you can resize your note, and that will change how long it plays for. For this beat, we're just going to make a repeating note pattern so that we can pick a sound that we like. In order to add this to our playlist, we'll go back up here and just click and it'll put in your bass. Now you notice how our bass is only 1 bar, our drums are 4 bars. So what we're going to want to do to make it easy to duplicate our bass is to open the piano roll, hold Control, and highlight the notes that we've already put down. Now hold Shift, click, and drag, and that will duplicate your notes. Do it again. And again. And we'll see how here in our playlist it's extended to match up with the length of our drum loop. Now let's click play, and we can switch through our bass sounds until we find something that we like. Alright, now that we've picked a bass sound, we're going to open our piano roll again. And now we're going to write a bass line. Bass lines tend to be very repetitive, very simple, and they just kind of help hold down the groove of a beat. So let's go ahead and delete all of these notes that we made. And we can start on any note that we want. I'll start on a D. We'll click and drag to make it longer. And when you're picking notes, if you don't have any knowledge of music theory, pick notes that sound good. You'll be able to tell if what you have going on sounds really, really bad and out of key, or if it sounds like a decent note progression. That actually sounds pretty good. One nice thing about how we're made this beat is it can be a little more tedious, but you don't need to have a MIDI keyboard. Clicking around a lot gets annoying when you're trying to find the right notes. If you do ever feel like investing, maybe $100 or less, you can get a keyboard to plug into your computer, and then as you're trying to pick the sounds you like, you can just play through the notes until you pick out your melody and everything else. Now to make this a little less boring, we're just going to adjust our drums a little bit, and then we'll be done with our first part here, making the drums and bass and the backbone of our beat. You can double click on your pattern in the playlist. That'll open up your drums here. We want to add a crash cymbal for just a little bit of excitement. And maybe some more kick drums near the end, just to kind of give it a feeling of completing a loop and starting again. And that's it, we're done. Before we finish this video, make sure you click save. File, save. And we are well on to our way to writing our very first beat in FL Studio. Thank you guys for tuning in. The next video will be out in just a few days. In the meantime, click like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out attollostudios.com where you can find more videos, you can download beats. It's a great place. And if there's anything you'd like me to do a video about in the future, please let me know.